So I left off yesterday with these options in front of us where you could do this flight and this flight, for example, but with the taxes and fees involved, whoops, it just became too much. Like if you were to do these two options that we found, you'd seriously be spending $600, and then you do the, well, I'll just copy it. What am I doing? 50,500 and 600 bucks would be your out-of-pocket total. And although, like, it's great that you're left with, almost 10,000 of your built points left over. That's great. But $600 cash for the two round trip flights plus 50,000, which you could cash out for 500 bucks, means that you're essentially spending what is an effective $1,100 on these flights. Now they are nonstop, so that's something, but I just didn't like that. So you know what? We're going to continue this and we're going to keep looking because there's got to be a way we can cut down on these fees. Um, and I want to see, pretty sure I already tested this. Yeah, that was 73,000 and only $330 cash if we did these two flights here. So more in points, but you save almost 300 bucks. But yeah, you have to spend another 23,000, 13,000 more than what you have to begin with. So it's not ideal. But here's the thing. Both of these programs, Virgin Atlantic, British Airways, and Aer Lingus, they're not unique to Built. Built's unique partners are, I guess you also have United, but you're likely not going to find great options on United, or I should say cheap options, but we haven't looked. So why don't we take a gander at what United could offer us? Let's say coming back. Oops, go the other way, Europe to North America. Because I like this departing flight. Frankly, that is such a cheap flight, 9,000 points and $110 for a nonstop flight Seattle to London. I really like that one. So I want to find one that we could do coming back. So you've got, all these are the 44,000 direct. Frankfurt, here's Munich, it's still 44K direct, 40. But here is something that that Seats.Aero likely is not factoring in if you have a United credit card. So when you have a United Airlines credit card, it offers it offers discounts to the points price. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign in. I'll be right back. All right, I'm signed in. So let's search a one-way flight. Looks like there's a lot of options: Frankfurt, Munich, Istanbul. Let's keep with Dublin though. Let's see if we can find. Now I'm curious actually. If we go back to flight connections, but let's go Seattle to Seattle from Dublin. It's just Aer Lingus. I don't remember if United partners with Aer Lingus, but at any rate, let's just give it a shot. So Dublin, Ireland to Seattle. We're doing one way. We're looking around the 27th. Sure. Go. What am I missing? Okay, something's not right. What is the problem? All right, let's refresh this. Doesn't like something I'm doing. Miles, one way. Dang. Why is it saying it's not valid? What? Ugh. Honestly, I just want to search something. It's not letting me search. Okay, so now that you're searching, let's switch it up. I'm typing these in backwards. Switch. And then go back. February 27. Miles, go. There. Have to kind of go around. All right. So here's the route and what we can do with United. So I am a United card member specifically so that I can get access to these cheaper awards. So it looks like this 44,000 drops to 40, 49 drops to 45. Looks like looks like that's the typical option, but let's look at the 30-day calendar just to be sure that about 38K would be the lowest. Wow. Yeah, 38K is the lowest across the board in February. And it looks like this is flying on United Metal. Yes, that's United, that's United. So these are all United flights. None of these are on Aer Lingus, so they probably don't partner with Aer Lingus, which would make sense. Okay, so 38 is roughly the lowest. Let's go to Frankfurt then. Okay, so 36, but you're spending $170 out of pocket. And then wait for this to load just to see. 36 seems to be the lowest there. I know Munich also had these prices, so not great. Okay, well that's United. What else do we got? We have Air France. Let's see. What other options? Why don't we try Turkish? I almost never look at what Turkish Airlines has to offer. You can fly Istanbul to Seattle non-stop for 40,000 Turkish miles. That's a good price. That's a, I mean, it doesn't work, again, for our purposes, it doesn't work, but that's actually not bad. Because how long of a flight is that? Well, I don't know if I would say it's a good price, but for a nearly 13-hour flight, 40,000 Turkish miles, that's not bad. Okay, let's try a different program. Let's look at Etihad. Nope, that's a horrible price. Okay, Emirates. Let's see. So you got Athens to Newark, Milan to JFK, Newark, JFK, Newark, JFK. So to fly to North America, you are either flying JFK or Newark with Emirates. And that's fine. I didn't really expect anything too different. But that is interesting that 17,500, 140 euros. So that's a pretty cheap economy flight. 87K in business and $400 or 400 euros. Okay. So Emirates is kind of out. Look at Air Canada. We didn't really see those Star Alliance options with United. Air Canada is in the same alliance as United. So I don't expect to see anything too good here. Yeah, 38,600, 40,000 direct, 400 Canadian dollars. That's Frankfurt to Seattle. Wow, that's really high. $330 Canadian dollars. So a little bit less, 270. Anyway, it's too high. What else have we not tried yet? I'll come back to Air France. I just don't anticipate seeing anything too good. We haven't looked at Qatar. Okay, Europe, North America, Seattle. How much in cash? Doesn't say the cash cost. 33K. Look at this. 99,000 in business, 93.5 in first. That doesn't make sense. It's cheaper to fly first class. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. 33,000 wouldn't work anyway. Did we look at Virgin coming back? Not necessarily. See, the problem with these is that out of pocket, 257 euros, 235 Great British pounds. It's just too expensive in cash. And that's exactly what I'm trying to save on. I don't know why it's so many euros. This is flying on Virgin Atlantic? No, Air France. Or you can book it for 52,000 in economy. Good grief. If I paid for it, then I could say, where's the cash? Isn't there a cash component? At any rate, I'm not able to filter out these high cash prices, but these cash prices are too high. Okay, let's look at Air France. Dang, it's the cash component. 235, 313, 236. It's just too much in cash. Even leaving Amsterdam, you're still paying 327. Let's look at Alaska again. So I've actually heard that with some websites, if you select your location not in the US, but then just change the language to be English, then you can actually get cheaper prices. All right. Oh, great. All right, let's look at a one-way price from Seattle to London, departing on 10th. So Finnair would charge 33,000 British Airways and 200 euros. Okay, and just out of curiosity, how much is this one? Still 33,000, 99,000. Man, that's crazy. Okay, so Finnair wouldn't be good that way. What if we swapped it? Still the same price. Okay, it literally just told me that there wasn't something on the 27th. Okay, it just said that there was. Look at March 1st, because I think I saw some there. Nope. Dude, I'm not crazy. It said that there was. On the 28th. Hmm. 25th, 27th, 23rd. There you go. Flying British Airways. Okay. I mean, it's not a good price in obvious anyway. Okay, so how could we swing this? You went backwards from Dublin. This nonstop flight is going to be $900. And yesterday when we looked at it, it was a little bit less. It's like 890 or something. Basically, what I'm looking at is what if you paid cash for one of these directions? Because by the time you paid $190 per person in one of these directions, you add on the points that you're giving up, the points that you have to spend, it gets to be kind of pricey. Let's take nonstop out of here. Let's just see what the cheapest options are. Oh, no, that's horrible. So you could fly out on WestJet. WestJet's kind of a, what is that, Canadian? Looks like it's a discount carrier. Okay, that's all on WestJet. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Mm. Okay. Well, just from a cash perspective, I would prefer this option here because 330, for two round trip tickets to Europe nonstop, is really not bad. But we're short 13,000 points or miles. So as we talked about, you could snag a transfer bonus from Virgin Atlantic, but even a 30% transfer bonus would only save you 4,000 Virgin Atlantic, or I should say bill points, because you still end up with 18,000 Virgin miles, but it's your bill points you're trying to save, so it costs you 14,000 bill points. That plus 55 is a 69,000 built point requirement. So frankly, what I would say is if you wanted to go round trip for the least cash possible, because again, you can do it. Like, here's your option. You take this Virgin Atlantic flight, Seattle to London. You take this Dublin to Seattle on Aer Lingus flight. You fly both of those, and it's 50,500 points, which these don't have to be built points. This would work for really any transferable currency program. We're just going with built in this case, but Chase, Amex, Citi, Capital One, they all transfer to an Avios program and Virgin Atlantic. So not unique to built. 50,500 of those points or miles and $600 cash. It's not terrible. It's really not terrible. So That's probably as good as you're going to get for February because we're looking at February. This is meant to be like, let's go next month. Let's kind of do a quick thing. Well, I got it right there. It's not great. I don't love it. I personally probably wouldn't do it because that's just too much cash for these two tickets that I'm trying to consider to be free. But that's what we have to work with. Now, what if you have some more points? What if, for example, you picked up let's go here, frequent miler. So frequent miler has a list of what they've decided based on a somewhat objective and somewhat subjective. I don't say that in any way to deride them, but they basically list the best credit card offers, personal and business, on either side. So let's kind of work with this. Here's an 80,000 American Airlines miles offer, 80,000 after spending just $1,000 in 3 months, and no annual fee for the first year. That's pretty incredible. So given this backdrop, and just to show you that it is real, this offer, it is in fact 80,000 miles, $99 annual fee waived for the first year after only $1,000 in purchases. You do need a 6-digit code, but lo and behold, ask flight attendant for a code or enter 6 zeros. 000 000. Oh, wait, it says right there, if you cannot find your code, enter 00. That's funny. The code is useless. The code is to give a commission to that flight attendant. So it's not a big deal if you don't have one, which I guess is why they just basically say, just put in zeros. So with that though, if you spend $1,000 on that card, you walk away with 80,000 American miles. Let's see what American miles can do for us. There it is. You could also get a Citi credit card. So Citibank, they have their credit cards that transfer to American Airlines, which is a somewhat recent development with one of their latest cards that came out, the Citi Strata Elite. Let's see. I'm keeping with Seattle. We're going to stay there. Seattle to London, $5. So $200 if you fly on British Airways. The $5 option has a layover in, is that North Carolina, I believe? Don't quote me on that. Here's a layover in JFK. If you just want it to be nonstop, man, I feel like it's not sorting that very well. Because the direct flights definitely have a cash component, and this has a stop. I guess the cash, or not the cash, the points price doesn't change, which is why it's not giving that difference. That's kind of annoying. Okay. But here's this one. This is all British Airways. What if I don't want to fly British Airways? Because they charge way too much in taxes. I'm just trying to find some routes that we could look at. So let's go back. Let's see. Go back to flight connections. I don't like to leave it open because of all the pop-ups and things. It slows my computer down. But let's see where you can fly Seattle nonstop one more time. So you can go to Barcelona, go to Rome. Barcelona is going to be on Delta. SAS, which is part of, what did they join? They joined SkyTeam. So Seattle to Copenhagen, that could be interesting. Doha, Dubai, Qatar, Emirates, Istanbul on Turkish, Munich on Lufthansa. I'm curious what Air France sees going to Europe. So we recently looked going from Europe. Let's go to Europe. See how much Air France will charge. So 25,000 Seattle to Paris for only $100 and 25,000. So basically I'm looking at maximizing, there's 88,000. It's not horrible. Wait, that's flying Delta? Wow. That's flying Delta 1. Non-stop, Seattle to London. $33? 88,000 isn't bad to fly. I gotta see that for myself. Okay, I don't know if, yeah, kept me logged in. Seattle, London. What day? Whoops. 88,000, that's on February 24th. Let's punch that in. Business. Go. Oh, dang it. Okay. 88,000 and $30. I did not know that Delta One was still bookable without paying crazy cash like taxes because Virgin Atlantic, it used to be an insane deal. I'm gonna log in real quick. So Virgin Atlantic, I have booked twice. I've booked Delta One round trip with Virgin Atlantic. The first time I did it, let's see, this is to London. First time I booked it, it was 50,000 Virgin points in each direction per person. Now that might not sound great, or maybe it does, but that was the deal, and it was incredible to be able to book that. And so I did that once, and then the following year I did the same thing. It did have a layover in like Minneapolis when I did it the next year, so I did have to pay a little bit more. It was 77,500 per person, but I had a transfer bonus that time. So the 77,500 with the transfer bonus, it brought it down to like something like 62,000, 63,000, something like that, of the points that I was transferring in order to get that many Virgin miles in my account. So it really wasn't that much more expensive to do that. So I was able to take advantage of booking Delta One through Virgin Atlantic twice. I loved it. And then the next time I was interested in doing it, this time to bring maybe my daughter along with us because I just went with my wife those other times. Um, Virgin Atlantic decided that they would still let you book Delta One through their program, but they were going to charge you $1,000 per ticket. Doesn't matter if you were departing the U.S. or coming back to the U.S. They were going to charge $1,000 on every single Delta One flight, even though the taxes and fees for those flights are $5. Virgin Atlantic, they didn't care. It was a $1,000 charge. This, however, is very interesting because with Virgin moving to that kind of business model for their Delta One flights, this is not loading. The fact that Air France will still sell it to you for $30, and yeah, I mean it's far more miles, far more of your points, but for $30 to fly Delta One, and Delta's a solid product. A lot of people like to give them grief, but we liked Delta One. It's not a bad lie flat seat because frankly it is a lie flat seat, so there's not a ton to complain about. Okay, we're just gonna try this again. It was on the 24th, right? Yeah. Okay, I already said one way, and go. Great. Virgin Atlantic, just crushing it. Well, there's another one in March, March 2nd, same price, only 60,000, 200 bucks, but 60,000 with a connection in Paris. Connection in Paris. Nice. I don't understand. Is it going to let me search? There you go. So there's another one of those cheap 9,000 flights or 9,000 point flights. Yeah, so Virgin will only charge 67.5, but there's your $1,000 in taxes. $1,000 on this Delta flight. It's the same flight. Delta One, 109,000. It's got a layover somewhere. Yeah, one change, Salt Lake City. Yeah, that's insane. It's absolutely crazy. Okay. Well, um, we were talking about American, so let's go back to American. And frankly, I want to try and find a way home on American Airlines, Europe to North America. Let's just try and get home. 300 bucks, 130, 120, 300, 140, 200, 120, 112. There you go. Helsinki, 22,005. How bad of a flight is that, though? You've got a stop in Amsterdam, stop in Philadelphia. It's a horrible flight. Stop in Dublin, Philadelphia. Not the flight that I would take. But let's see. So London to Seattle, all of these are going to have high taxes. Yeah, because those are all, I mean, it's very likely I don't even really have to look. But they're all going to be flying British Airways, and British Airways is just going to charge you a lot. Yeah. Even this American Airlines in Alaska, still charging a lot. It's because those London departure taxes. But Keflavik to Seattle with a stop in Helsinki and JFK, horrible flights. There's Rome to Seattle, FCO, stop in Madrid, London, Seattle. Goodness gracious. Helsinki, LA, Seattle. Okay, so here's something that we haven't done yet. Another Helsinki, Seattle. Helsinki, DFW. That's not bad. 22.5 and 40 bucks. That's not bad. So let's do that. Let's go to AA. And let's search Helsinki, Seattle, miles. And let's just stick with around that day that we were looking. Stop in Dallas. Only one seat left. Wow, they all only have one seat. I wonder if Finnair, it looks like Finnair only opens one seat at a time. There you go, Helsinki, Paris. Oh, it's got two stops. Sorted by one stop. They all say one seat. This one's two seats, but you're flying through London, so it's higher taxes. Same thing, London. All right, we might want to change the number of passengers in this case, just to filter out those things. So we got two people. I want to fly one stop or less. Looking at the calendar, one stop or fewer, 22,500. It's not the points price that's the problem. Here you go. 20,500 on February 5th. February 14th, Valentine's Day. Let's just look at March real quick. March 3rd. Okay. Look at March 3rd. There you go. Stop in Dallas. It's not a big deal. How long is the stop? Less than 2 hours. That's not bad. So 22.5. I would do that. I would take a stop in Dallas. And you got two seats left. There's four seats. So maybe they do open a few more. Oh, no, I was looking at the wrong one. British Airways, four seats. Not interested. Okay. So that would work. 22,500. Because that saves you a decent amount. So if we put in, let's see, the program is American. Airline is Finnair. I think it's Finnair for the one leg, and then yeah, it's American Airlines for the other one. But 46.53 and 22,500 is not bad. This is Helsinki to Seattle on March 3rd. Yeah, March 3rd. Economy again. One stop in Dallas, Fort Worth. And the duration, go to the wrong tab. Duration, 16 hours, 55 minutes. Sounds like a long time, but it's because of all the taking off, landing, waiting for 2 hours. So it does add up for sure. It would make for quite a long day of travel. But you'd be able to do it. So now we could take you, 63,000. Cash ticket would be, or cash price out of pocket, 313. And we could look in the other direction. So let's just go Seattle to Helsinki. Maybe we just stick to Helsinki. So we said March 3rd. Tuesday, let's look somewhere around there. And we got two people, so let's look at that. I'm curious here if we swap departing Seattle, go to London any day of the week. Seattle JFK. I always look for the non-stops. Like I said, I prefer them because we tend to travel with kids. Seattle, Helsinki. Problem is, I don't want to route through. There you go. You have to have two stops in between. I don't want to route through London, and it's very hard to do because I don't want to pay those taxes. At any rate, let's look here. So let's look one stop or less. There you go. Seattle, Dallas, Dallas, Helsinki, 22,500 and $5. Sort by duration. One stop or fewer. So 19 hours, 8 minutes. It's not incredible. I don't love it. Let's look at the next day. There's just a one flight. Let's look at Thursday. Hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, I'd probably take this Friday one. You pay $5, pay your 22,500, and 19 hours, 8 minutes. Seattle, Helsinki with a stop in Dallas. That is Friday the 20th. Okay, so sometimes what we do is we search one way for both directions. Sometimes when you put it together, with American Airlines specifically, when you put the trip together, you can get a better price. Now, I don't think we will because we're not flying American Airlines. We're flying a partner. And American Airlines uses a standard award chart to price these tickets. So yeah, as kind of as I thought, it's not lowering the points cost. Oh, interesting. I didn't see this flight before. Seattle to Helsinki. I don't care about that one. Don't care about that one. This one though. This is with a stop in. Is that Oklahoma City? Oh, that's got 2 stops. That's why I didn't see it. Because I filtered it out. 1 stop or fewer. There we go. So that's the same flight. So $52 in cash. That's round trip per person. $52. That is not a bad price. Let's click that one. Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see anything different booking it as a round trip versus 2 one-ways. It's not going to lower the price at all. But it's worth checking with American Airlines specifically. It's worth checking to see if it does, because sometimes you can get a cheaper price. But if we put that together, it's 45K per person plus $52. And once you spend on this card, so this card that we talked about before is 80,000 American Airlines miles is the bonus. You have to spend 1,000 to get those 80K miles. So the total cost of this trip would be 90 if you were to book it this way. It would be 90,000, and it would only cost you the $53 per person, or was it 52? Yeah, $52 per person. So that's $100, $100 out of pocket, and you get two round trip tickets to Helsinki with a stop in Dallas along the way. But then you tell me, well, I'm short 9,000 miles because you said I can get 80 after I spend the $1,000. I'll have 1,000 more miles, so that's 81, but I need 90. So how do I get 90 or 9,000 miles? Well, if you have a city credit card that can transfer to American Airlines, you can also buy those miles. I'm not suggesting that you do. It would probably cost you a couple $100s to buy just 9,000 miles. And that's just because buying them is just so expensive. If you knew someone that had the miles, you could buy them from them, because transferring American Airlines miles from one person to another is it's half a cent per mile. So what that means is for every 1,000 miles you want to transfer, you will pay a fee. Not to mention, if you're trying to buy the miles from somebody, you're probably going to want to pay them for the miles, depending on, if maybe they're a friend, family, maybe they'll just gift them to you, whatever. But there is a fee to do it, but it is only half a cent per mile. So that means that 1,000 miles is $5. So to get the 9,000 miles, it would cost you $45. So the fee of $45 plus the $104 that we're talking about, 105 if you round, the $105 taxes and fees for these flights, the fee to transfer the miles from one person to the next of $45, you're looking at $150 total plus 90,000 American Airlines miles. Now like I said, you may have to buy them from that person. So on top of that $45 fee, maybe they would charge you to buy those miles. Let's say they charge you 1 cent per point. So 9,000 miles, $90, add that to the total. You can swing this in many different directions. At the end of the day, city points do transfer to American Airlines. And I am curious, maybe Alaska can book this flight for cheaper. Alaska Atmos Rewards. Because if we're talking about opening a new credit card, that American Airlines card, if you combine those with your 60,000 bill points, which can be transferred to Alaska, that actually might do some damage in a good way. Change that to Europe. And you know what? Let's just say Helsinki. So on the date, let's see, 27.5 is the lowest to Helsinki, $180 out of pocket. Why are you spending $180? So through Iceland, they're going to charge you $180. Is there anything cheaper? So let's go to Alaska Airlines and let's see what they charge. So I'm looking Helsinki to Seattle on the 3rd of March. Go. Not great. Yeah, not good prices. Frankly, I would have expected Alaska Airlines to potentially beat out American Airlines, but that is definitely not the case. I mean, the lowest I'm seeing is 27.5, but that's going through Iceland, and you have to pay $230 per person. So that's not good, at least in that direction. Here we go. Change your search. Let's just swap and go to our February 20th. And then lastly, I did want to check in air one more time, see if they give any better, or at the very least more favorable pricing to their own members. Let's go one way. Helsinki, Seattle. I mean, they make the flight available to their partners, so that tells me that it should be available on Finnair's side at their lowest price. Looks like it's going to be 45,000 Avios. That's going through British Airways still. Let's see. Let's swap that then. Go to the 20th. No. 50,000. Okay. I mean, they fly direct DFW to Helsinki. 30,000 for the direct, 73 euros. That's not bad. Yeah, so 30,000 Avios and 73. You can go Dallas to Helsinki. So you would basically just need to reposition to Dallas, which means buy either with cash or with more points. You could buy a ticket to Dallas, and that would save you, what was it, 15,000 Avios in this case? If you wanted to do something like that. But yeah, I don't think Alaska or Finnair would be a great option because 30,000 one way, that's not anything crazy. You can get 30,000 one way in a lot of different programs. We're trying to get under 30,000, preferably under 20,000. Tried our best here. And then as low cash taxes and fees as possible. 73, 75 euros, probably end up being somewhere around maybe $85, which isn't that far off from this 110 number, which was only 9,000. So anyway, kind of getting into all the different nuances here. But there's pros and cons to everything. Are you willing to spend a little bit more cash in order to save the points? Are you willing and do you have time to open up a new credit card in order to do this one? Are you able to buy or otherwise acquire the remaining points that you would need under this option, the American Airlines option? Maybe you split, you go half the, or I should say you book one of them with your American Airlines miles. You have 45,000 of them, so you can or you have 80,000 of them, and you would only need to spend 45,000. Maybe you have a player two. So a player two is a significant other, a friend, a spouse, who can open up that same American Airlines credit card. Now you cannot refer someone to that card. Citi does not have a referral program for this American Airlines card or any of them. As far as I know, Citi doesn't do referrals. But if you both opened up that 80K offer, then you could both book your own tickets. So spend 45K from yours, 45K of theirs, and boom, you've got your own tickets, and you only spend $100 cash out of pocket for those taxes and fees. So if you were in a two-player situation, that's probably what I would do because I'd be willing to spend $100 in those taxes and fees and only 45,000 round trip per person of the American Airlines miles. I'd be willing to do that all day. That's not bad. And yes, there is a layover in Dallas. I don't love it, but given the point constraints and the preference towards saving the cash, you got to be flexible somewhere. So in this case, we are opting to be flexible in the duration of the flight in that there is a layover. If you want a quicker flight, then here you go. That is as cheap as it is going to get. 9,000 Virgin miles is it's a very good price. All right, so that is the end to our Seattle to Europe. I feel much better about this option. We are foregoing the build points in this case, but this is mainly to illustrate, you know what? Let's just put this. Boom. So giving up the fact that we have the 60K build points, I'm kind of just saying, you know what, AA miles would be a better fit here. But that doesn't have to be the case because we did find options where 60K build points and cash would get you what you need. It just depends on what you are willing to work with.